And but sacrifice is what consumer-minded disciples are unwilling to do. Jesus gives us the example of true servanthood as he makes his way to the cross. Let me just read this from John chapter 12, verses 23 to 26. Jesus says, "Now the time has come for the Son of Man," speaking of himself, "now the time has come for the Son of Man to enter into his glory." He's going to the cross, and he says, "I'm going to enter into glory. I tell you the truth, unless a kernel of wheat is planted in the soil and dies, it remains alone. But its death will produce many new kernels, a plentiful harvest of new lives. Those who love their life in this world will lose it. Those who care nothing for their life in this life will keep it for eternity. Anyone who wants to be my disciple must follow me, because my servants must be where I am. And the Father will honor anyone who serves me." What's Jesus saying here? He's saying that true servants are more concerned about the needs of others, not just the people in the church, in the community too. True servants are more concerned about the needs of others than they are of their own needs. That's what servanthood is. And that's what we're looking for in people who serve at River City Church. More accurately, that's what we're seeking to develop. We're seeking to develop servants of the Lord Jesus Christ in and through this ministry. And here's the amazing, seemingly counterintuitive thing about being a servant of Christ. Intuition tells you that if you serve, if you give yourself away, you'll have nothing left for yourself. But in this instance, the exact opposite is true. Because when you serve the Lord Jesus Christ, when you give for him, you receive. You receive more than you ever imagined. Some people have the idea, I think, that when we speak about servanthood at River City, it's because we're looking for more volunteers. It must be volunteer recruitment season. But in actuality, Sunday, this is just on-deck duty for every team member at River City Church, and it is not the essence of their ministry. This is not the essence of your ministry if you're serving at River City. Each person should have a ministry, but it should be outside the church. I'm not talking about, signing up for volunteerism at the Y or in some other community organization, although that's valuable and important. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about seeing all that you do, as Greg talked about earlier, seeing all that you do in your home and at work and wherever you go as part of your ministry. Everything, everywhere. Disciples of Jesus Christ recognize God in all areas of life. And that makes all of life sacred, which is a complete attitude adjustment, isn't it? All of life is sacred, not just this. This isn't the only sacred space. Family, agriculture, economics, education, medicine, science, technology, communication, arts, entertainment, government, justice, everything and everywhere can be sacred if you have the right perspective. And I'm convinced the best that I can do when it comes to being the pastor of this church, when it comes to reaching this community for Christ, is to saturate it with members of River City Church who see their primary ministry as being out there. Their primary ministry is being out there. Why? Because you have more clout, more influence, and more understanding of your sphere of influence than I ever will. That's just the way the body works. So, what would it take for you to begin to see your job, your vocation, as your number one ministry, and not just a way to put bread on the table? I think there's so little adventure in the life of the average Christ follower today. I think the new U2 CD has a song on it. I picked it up Monday, and there's a line where Bono talks about God must be tired of us feeling like we have to help him across the road like he's an old lady. I think there's too much dumbing down what Christianity is all about. I think it's become too predictable, it's too pat, it's too easy. And I don't think that you're here this morning on the Sunday that the time changed, so you had to get up an hour earlier, because you want pat, easy Christianity. I believe you're here this morning because you're wild at heart. And inside of each and every one of you, there's a beating heart that longs for adventure, longs to serve the King and see his kingdom come through your efforts. It's a thrill to live an adventure when you don't know what's around the next bend. It's a thrill to live the Christian faith when you don't even know how this current bend that you're in is going to impact you in the long term. But that's what faith is all about. It's a journey, it's a pilgrimage, it's a process in which everything builds on everything else and leads to something beyond what you could ever expect. Every day we get challenges. How do we react to them? This week I got a letter from a denomination that has supported us, the Christian Reformed denomination. And a year ago we applied for a staff grant for our discipleship director. And because of the economy the way it is, they're cutting back that grant by 20% over the next quarter. So as a church, we've got a challenge there, don't we? That email came to me earlier this week. I got a call from the director of the Christian Reformed Church on Friday informing me we're sorry, but the reality is our giving is down, which means we know that this is going to be a challenge for River City Church, but we have no other option right now. Over the last 2 months, we've been working with the Waterloo Region School Board trying to get more space in this school, because right now our children's ministry is holding worship in the hallway because it's the biggest space that they have. And we opened our eyes, we walked around the school, and we noticed that the hallway at that end of the school has twice as much space. And so logically, if we're outgrowing one area, we're asking for another. And at 3 different levels, we've been told no, and now we've received a definitive no, that we can't do that. And obviously, the leaders in children's ministry are concerned because they've seen the ministry since September grow from 30 kids to averaging about 50 children every Sunday. And they want it to keep growing. Disciples of Jesus Christ see everything building on everything else and leading to some place they could never have hoped or imagined. And unpredictable rides are not easy. Just ask Jim and Cheryl Martin. Friends, the question is not if crisis will come to you or to your family. The question is when. How would you fare if the month of February that the Martins experienced turns out to be the month of April for you? Would you have the support system, the prayer network, the encouragement, the guarantee of unconditional love that they did? Well, the message of this talk is that you can. You can. But it will mean that you'll have to make some changes. You'll have to risk for team, and you'll have to risk for community. Through the grace of God and through the difference that community makes in your life, you may be able to call one of the worst months of your life, stress-wise, a month in which you witnessed miracles of uncharacteristic compassion and charity. The toughest month of your marriage can be the month that makes it stronger and brings you closer to your spouse than you ever dreamed, through the benefit of community, a gift that God gives you. The toughest month of your career can be the month where you emerge a champion, where you're more proud of yourself than you've ever been, and where others see you as a force to be reckoned with. How? Through the power of community, which is God's gift to us. The toughest month with your son or your daughter or your children can be the month where you take your family to a whole new plane, where you discover what family can be instead of what it currently is, through the gift that God gives of community. The toughest month of your personal finances can be the month where you discern God's provision for you in ways that you never even imagined. How? Through the gift of community which God gives. The toughest month, you fill in the blank. And then going back to the very beginning of my talk, when you face temptation, when you're caught in the irons, how will you resist? How will you stand? God made you for community. And you need to know this morning, River City, that community is far more than the patchwork community that assembles in this room together in the dark for an hour on Sunday. That's not even the tip of the iceberg. So the invitation to deeper community has been extended. The benefits have been illuminated, but the decision is yours. What kind of disciple will you be in the toughest month of your life? Let me pray with you.